I'm Keith Casey. I'm the API problem solver. One of the things that I do at Okta is I try to work with our customers to do things better, to do things smarter, to make sure that the APIs that they're building are secure, that they're reliable, that they're scalable. And one of the things that comes along with that is how people fundamentally think about APIs and how they come about in the organization. So we sort of think about APIs from beginning to what's next. And so this is the process that we've seen over and over again. The vast majority of APIs are not driven by C-level execs. As much as they like to think that digital transformation drives the organization, we know digital transformation means anything you want it to mean, which as the lady on stage earlier today said, when digital transformation means everything, it means nothing. So the way the vast majority of APIs come about is they start as private APIs. They start as one individual team has the same problem over and over and over again. And after they build the same thing 5 or 6 times, they finally say, well, wait a second. If we build an API, we can stop building this thing. And so they reuse it. They reuse it over and over again. And the people that use that API are the 5 people sitting in the room with them. And that's great. Well, success breeds success. So eventually the team in the hall hears about their API and says, well, wait a second, that makes your life easier. That would make our life easier. We have similar requirements. Can we use your API? And at this point, usually an architect gets involved. We start thinking about API gateways and versioning, standardization, those sorts of things. So we move from 5 people to 5 teams. And this is great. This is what we want, right? APIs are about reusing business logic. Well, at that point, somebody else gets involved. And this person usually is a director, a VP, and they say, well, wait a second. If our internal teams down the hall can use it, a lot of our partner use cases look like our internal use cases. So can we plug partners into this? And we love this. We love people reusing our APIs. So we say, absolutely, let's plug those partners into it. And then eventually some C-level executive gets the idea of digital transformation going. And they say, well, wait a second. If our partners are using this, can't our customers use this? Because our top customers look a lot like partners. So instead of just treating an API as an internal tool, we start treating it as an external product. And we sort of make this leap. Now something important happens here though. We don't end up with just launching an API. At this point, the C-level executive goes to our security team and they say, hey security team, we're launching this API next month. It's part of our digital transformation effort. We need a security assessment of this. We need to understand how this is working, how this, if vulnerabilities that go along with this. But don't worry, there probably aren't. We've been using this for a year. All the security team hears is, we've been using this for a year. Because they know that anything that they discover at this point has actually existed the entire time. And what's really important to understand here is that our security posture that started over on the left at phase 0, when there were 5 people using our API, the 5 people in the room using our API, is not the same as where we are now. Because when you can look around the room and name the people using your API, you're probably lax in your security. You're probably not thinking about security because you know them by name. But something happened in between here. We went from 5 people to 5 teams to 5 organizations to everybody. And we never stop to reevaluate how things are going on and how things are shared, how things are reused. And that comes down to a simple reason. It's because we have 3 groups that are always at odds with each other. Sometimes they're openly at war with each other. We have the group on the right, the back-end developers. These are the people that are building the API. They're quite often us. They're trying to make sure that the nouns and verbs line up. They're trying to make sure that the response codes are right, all that sort of thing. Then we have the group on the left, the front-end developers, the people that are integrating those APIs to build useful apps for our customers. And these 2 groups have something unique. They have 2 goals in life. Build something useful, where being useful is it gets more usage, it satisfies customer needs, it drives revenue. And their second goal in life is to go home. That's it. If you do anything that gets in their way of either one of those things, they will be very angry, right? Now, if you can do anything that accelerates those things, that's great. That's what we should do. So the easier, the faster, the better we can build things so that they don't get calls at 2 a.m. for the issues, so that they can actually go home on time and go catch that movie and spend the evening with the family and kids and stuff like that. That's great. The problem is that group in the middle. That group in the middle is our security architects. They have one goal in life, and that's to say no. No, actually, that's not fair. Security architects, they have one goal in life, and that's to protect the organization. That's their entire goal, because when Equifax has a hack, when British Airways has a hack, nobody goes to the developers and say, what do you do? They go to the security team and they go, why are you working here? Why do we hire you people? You didn't protect our organization. So we end up in this really bad, awkward position. So we really need to rethink how we're building APIs and how we're doing these things, because if we don't do this well, the consequences are getting bigger, more catastrophic, and they're only going to get more painful over time. And so with that, I want to introduce Kenn Bryant to the stage, because one of the things that we've seen in the last few years is Pitney Bowes has done this. They've rethought how they're building and designing APIs from the ground up, to be able to take that from that individual team building APIs to enable partners, to enable, well, what's next?
Exactly.
And that's actually what they're going to share with us now.
Thank you, Keith.
Kenn, take it away.
Appreciate it. All right, before we get started, I'll tell you a little bit about Pitney Bowes. I think the theme of this Oktane is 100-year-old companies, because I think we've heard that like 5 times every day. Pitney Bowes is another 100-year-old company, right? Started back in the 1920s with a postage meter, enabling commerce at locations, sending mail, getting mail sent out. And over the next 85 years, we evolved our meters and sending postage. And then something happened. The mailing industry began to decline. So we had to look at, where is the industry going? The industry went to shipping anything and everything. So we began to venture our way into the shipping business from a software perspective. How do you do that, right? So how do we do that? We started, again, we have this concept in Pitney Bowes called up and to the right, up and to the right. And if you look at this graph starts low and to the left with physical software, hardware, on-premise. And as you begin to move up into the right, you begin to see that now we're about business outcomes and our customers being able to consume our business outcomes. And how do they do that? They do that through the Pitney Bowes Commerce Cloud. We began to move our key resources and enablers into the cloud, into the web, so our customers can consume our products, services through a cloud-based way. How do we do that? We identified 3 key enablers. One is design. We looked across Pitney Bowes and we defined how we were going to design, how all of our products were going to look, feel, how customers are going to interact with them. And we identified a common experience for all applications, whether they were on a web, whether they were on a device, whether they were on a mobile phone. The next thing, and we talked a lot about this at Oktane this year, is data. Data is powerful. We collect data, we perform analytics, we grow ourselves, we give our customers better outcomes, better deliverables through analytics and data. And finally, cloud enabled. Cloud enabled is all those foundational technologies that allow us to build those applications rapidly. It's what Keith was talking about being able to give your developers the ability to bring their services to the edge and to our customers faster, stronger, better. There's a whole lot of things that are involved in cloud enabled that I'm responsible for that I'm not going to talk about. What I am going to talk about as part of that is our security, our authentication. And that's where Okta comes into play. When we looked at security 3 years ago, when we started with Okta, we looked at it in 3 distinct phases. Phase 1 was users. We secured all our users, SSO, SAML, OIDC, all of those things, and we bulletproofed our users being able to access our assets. Our second phase was our services. Our services is where Keith was talking about. Now we begin to look at our API economy. Our services are our APIs. How do we secure our APIs? We work closely with the Okta team, and we enabled OAuth flows, and we connected our APIs to Okta to allow for that strong security. Our final rung of our security was things. So how do we secure our things? And in this term, things mean our meters, right? How do we bring those into the ecosystem with our services and with our users? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today and how we did that. Our meters are now termed connected sending devices. Why? Because they are connected to that Commerce Cloud ecosystem that we talked about. We built an authentication service, put it on those connected sending devices, went with an operating system that could support that in Android. We then connected that to Okta. So now we know the CSD and its security. We know the users that log into that CSD. And our authentication service manages and controls all of that access when they're on, when they're logged off, when they need to refresh. So now we have our CSD at locations all around the world, connected to us via Okta and totally secured. This is great, right? We have our users, we have our services, we have our things, all secured by Okta. So how do we take that to the next level? One of the ways we looked at taking that to the next level is Keith talked a little bit about APIs. You start off with APIs internally, you move to a couple of teams, and then you move outside of your organizations to customers. Well, in Pitney Bowes, we have exactly that model. We have, in the nature of 600, 700 APIs. Some are internalized only, some are externalized, but they all go through the same process. They're all documented the same way, they're all exposed the same way, and they're all secured the same way. So we have our developer portal. Depending on your access level, as a partner, you can access a certain set of APIs. As an external developer, you can access a certain set of APIs. As an internal developer, you can access a certain set of APIs. And those developers now have the ability to take those underlying services that we offer, some of them business services, authentication, authorization, provisioning, billing, payments, and build those into those apps. They don't have to worry about building those services. We provide them as common services. We also have value-added services in there: shipping, tracking, rates, location intelligence. All of these exist in our API store, and they're externalized for our developers and partners to work with and build applications for us. Now we take that even further, or to the next stage of our evolution. We now put those applications give access to those applications that were being developed via our connected sending device. So now, not only does our device do mailing, does shipping, it can do tracking, you can have calendar apps. The possibilities now become endless, and what you can connect through this device or on the web. An application, once you develop it, doesn't matter whether it's deployed on a device or whether it's deployed on the web. All of this is still fully secured by Okta. All of our users, services, and things now all working together, along with our API management platform, where we service all of our APIs to our public, to our internal developers. And if you notice, I didn't put a whole bunch of lines on this slide. I try to keep it simple. It's really about managing the users and the things access to our back-end services through managing our tokens and security through Okta. Okta is foundational in securing this entire ecosystem that is now global and accessing resources within Pitney Bowes. So how do you productize this, right? This is all the technology side. It's a fabulous road kind of getting to this point. But how do you actually turn this into revenue? That's what we're all in the business for, right? We're all in the business for making money. So who I'm going to bring to the stage to follow me is our SMB Chief Architect, Zahid, Ahmed, and he's going to explain to everyone, how do we turn this into a product? Zahid?
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Ken and Keith gave us a very good introduction, to how to secure API-based services. And I'm going to go through how we're going to monetize these services and apps in some detail here. At Pitney Bowes, we are developing an app marketplace. And this app marketplace will have apps from partners, from Pitney Bowes developers. These apps would be web apps, cloud apps, mobile apps, also CSD apps. Of course, CSD is our flagship device, and it's Android platform-based device. And there's a lot of financial capabilities within CSD itself towards our customers. Who are our customers? SMBs. And these SMBs could be, retail-oriented SMBs. They could be, auto parts suppliers. They could be legal law firms. They could be dentist's office. They could be other types of small SMB businesses. So we have over 100,000 to maybe 250,000 SMBs, using our services and our devices in different maturity levels. This is our modern platform based on Android. And so around the Android platform, our goal is to develop this app marketplace. It's going to be Google App Marketplace powered using Google Orbitera. And it's going to also be using Play Store for Android apps distribution, but enterprise version of Play Store. We are going to be using Okta for identity services towards SMBs, as well as seamless partner web app, as well as partner Android app access. So as Ken was talking earlier, we have auth service enablers in the connected sending device that interoperates with the Okta IDP. And that gives us ability to have application-specific tokens for Android apps, but also it gives us federated access to partner apps on the web. And so this really opens up the platform, and it's a very critical piece in our, extending our SMB ecosystems towards digital, apps and services towards a relatively, very old-fashioned SMB customer segment that is not that modernized yet. But they need to have access to these modern digital applications to better do their business, better connect with their customers. It's going to be an end-tier cloud service marketplace that essentially is a buzzword that we will have partner apps from other ecosystems. So partner apps from Google Cloud Marketplace, partner apps from other SMB marketplaces. We are going to be curating those apps and have seamless access through single-click access on those apps and integrate with our pb.com, your account portal, which is already SSO enabled via Okta IDP. Unified user experience that's really around branding in many ways. We want to have a consistent experience from across the whole PB cloud ecosystem, the your account, the Okta login, the app marketplace. And we want to open up the app marketplace towards also lending services. So Pitney Bowes has global financial services, revolving accounts for SMBs, backed by a banking infrastructure. I know recently you guys might have heard about Apple having a lending service. We've had a lending service for 20 plus years towards SMBs. So we're going to open up that to the app marketplace as well eventually, and there'll be more details around that. Moving on, this is our high-level architecture, and as this kind of shows high level, the name of the game is to drive more partner and PB developed app through this app marketplace that are relevant and valuable towards SMBs. Many of them will be free applications. Many will be, try and buy applications. Some would be subscribable applications, monthly subscriptions or quarterly subscriptions. But they all will go through the Okta IDP in terms of access. The SMBs are going to come to the PB portal through the Your Account. They'll have single sign-on access through Your Account to PB App Marketplace, federated access to PB Marketplace running in Google Cloud, and Android apps, web apps being available there. And then they can use those apps through either the web channel or through the Android CSD channel or other mobile handheld devices. Initially, it's going to be mostly Android tablets, but we'll have to see how we open up for iOS applications as well down the road. So that gives you a quick overview on the architecture stack. And it is using the API platforms in the back end, the Commerce Cloud services. So all the API security is out of the box, available to the marketplace and the service ecosystem, towards SMBs. Let's go through the demo quickly. The app marketplace is going to be a pre-beta launch later this month. We're going to go and buy a DocuSign app. DocuSign is a very well-known SMB cloud services application. This user hasn't signed in to the marketplace. He was interested in buying the DocuSign app, so at purchase time, he went ahead and logged in via the PB login page powered by Okta IDP. And now he's going ahead and checking out the DocuSign application at $40 per month per user subscription license fee. He went to his email inbox, and as you can see, there's no email acknowledging yet any purchase was made. And that's because he hasn't checked out yet. So he's going back there, and now he's going to go ahead and make a checkout with a credit card on file. And then it's going to be an yearly cost of $480 a year for one user. These are relatively expensive applications. And then the purchase is completed there. And then he's going to go ahead and look at the purchase statuses in the App Store. And of course, the purchase has been completed there. And then he's going to look in the invoices, and there is an invoice for this particular transaction in the App Store as well. After the invoice has been, confirmed by the user, he can go ahead and look at his email again and see if he got any confirmation from the PB App Marketplace. Typical user experience that you would see in any App Store. This is an example of a cloud application, but this could have been an Android app as well, and it would have gone through the Enterprise Play Store. And now he's going ahead and activating his DocuSign application. He had a DocuSign email as well, sent to him as a confirmation, and there he went ahead and set up a DocuSign account from the email confirmation from DocuSign. And once he activated his account on DocuSign, then he's now a licensed customer to use DocuSign after purchasing it from PB App Marketplace. Now, of course, he created an account on DocuSign site. Some partners, you don't need to create an account. There's full single sign-on experience. Here, he had to create an account. There's different security considerations by different partners. I wouldn't consider that as a maturity issue, as more of a security choice that DocuSign made based on talking with the DocuSign folks. But once he did have the one-time access through a DocuSign login, then after he comes back to the DocuSign application from the App Store, he can click on more info, and then basically have single sign-on access to the app after that. So there is an activation step here on this particular partner, but there are other partners where that activation is 100% seamless access. The activation is done as part of the same single sign-on click-through. So that gives you a good sense of, exploring apps on the App Store, buying an app, and then having single sign-on access to partner apps from the PB SMB ecosystem. So I think we are on the Q&A now. That went through a bit fast, but if you have questions, happy to answer any questions from the audience here.
So quick question, when does this actually launch for Pitney Bowes?
So it's going to be, the pre-beta is going to be launching in the April 23rd, I believe, So
A couple weeks.
With about 4 partners and 6 Pitney Bowes developed apps. And the Pitney Bowes developed apps are going to be all the connected sending device applications running on the Android platform.
Nice. So we went from internal APIs to teams, to partners, to customers, and now an entire app ecosystem. What's next?
That's the perfect question, because I'm trying to figure out what I can present next year. I think we continue to build out this app ecosystem. We have, like I said, we have external developer portals, we have internal developer portals. So we're building a wave to encourage our developers as well as external developers to kind of get on this bandwagon and to begin to build out this ecosystem. Like I said, if you can imagine, you think about our connected sending devices, there's over 1 million of these devices around the globe. So if you really begin to think about the ability to touch 1 million customers with your technology or your app or your value proposition for an SMB, right? There's a huge opportunity for anyone. So for us, on our side, where I do the infrastructure side, I want to continue building and making this simpler. We have an SDK coming out where if you're building an app, right, just like Zahid had, you don't need your own authentication. Mm-hmm. You can wrap that using our SDK and utilize our authentication to now enable that application that is third party, but it will all go through our ecosystem. So our goal now is to continue to improve this ecosystem to allow more and more applications to be built and serviced within Pitney Bowes, right? And just continue, just like your goal at Okta is more integrations.
Infinite integration.
It's that ecosystem, right? Mm-hmm. Our ecosystem is, we have insight to all of these SMBs. And if you remember what I talked about our platform, we also collect data.
Right.
So we can give you insight into what all these meters are doing, what people are shipping, what people are sending. Absolutely. Right? And now that ecosystem for us is reach these SMBs through us. We will help you do that as partners.
Right. Nice. So Zahid, on the technical side, can you share maybe one technical dead end that you hit that you can encourage people to avoid?
Yeah, I think the SMB onboarding part is very critical. I mean, so in retrospect, we should have spent more time on the customer onboarding part. Mm-hmm. And I think it's not as much the technology there. Again, the technology was already pretty mature.
So it's the enablement around it?
The experience part, the experience and the branding part. So I think because we are trying to get a Google Cloud-based marketplace, a PB SMB ecosystem, and Okta IDP all interoperating, it's all about that experience, that it needs to be, that the branding part needs to be consistent. So we're still in a maturity curve there. And it's going to be the life cycle management around SMBs, the life cycle management around partners, the life cycle management around apps, web apps and Android apps. So this is a maturity curve we will need to go through on partners and developers, the enablers, You guys are way ahead in that maturity towards your partners, but now we're hoping that you guys can help us mature ourselves towards our partners.
Excellent.
So this is a dog food type situation. We're eating our own dog food here.
Excellent. I think we've got a question out there.
Thanks so much. I'm wondering if you can share any more about how you think about pricing models.
Yeah, so on the pricing models, as I said, there's a subscription model that could be monthly, quarterly, annually. There's a try and buy model. There's, in terms of payment methods, we have credit cards right now. We're very soon going to also make available a Pitney Bowes developed financial service capability that's also manifested as a credit card.
Is there a per transaction pricing model?
We're selling apps, so the apps are purchased as transactions. So yeah, in that sense there is. But I think the question behind the question is that as an app, if there's a pay-per-use type model, yes, we are thinking about the pay-per-use model. So that really connects the services economy very closely, services and API economy, So yeah, there are some partners who want that pay-per-use pricing model, and we're going to have that maybe in about 3 to 6 months, depending upon the partner.
I want to add to that, our ecosystem supports that.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
services
on the
we
API
build,
platform
we support it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Subscription model, usage models,
Yeah.
all of the above.
Fantastic. So you can do a consumption-based model, subscription-based.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, not seeing any other questions. I want to thank Kenn and Zahid for coming today and for your presentation this week. Thank you.
Keith.